Stricter controls on PNG Solomon Islands border. 3 families homeless after forced eviction. And agreement paves way for eco-tourism promotion.
This is the National EMTV News with Meriba Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us. This is Sunday's news. From December the 1st, the international border between Bougainville and the Solomon Islands will come under increased scrutiny, with everyone required to produce a passport to travel across the border. PNG Customs Commissioner Ray Paul made this known recently following meetings between PNG Customs and their counterparts in the Solomon Islands. The PNG Customs Commissioner was in South Bougainville recently, crossing the border from the Solomon Islands following meetings with the Solomon Island counterparts. It has been agreed that tighter border controls are necessary, with both countries' agencies agreeing to enforce stricter border controls from December the 1st. This will see PNG Customs setting up 2 checkpoints on Bougainville.
What we intend to do, as agreed in the bilateral, is this, that we intended to have December 1, 2018, as the date that we will start to process people properly to cross the border. It all requires of them a passport. So that's what we want to do. We've been talking about it for the last 43 years, but we are doing a start now. This start is important. So that means that our location from PNG's side that we will be checking people out from here going on the other side would be one in Kangu, and the second one would be out of Kiata, around the Sirawai area.
Most people that cross the border into Bougainville are from the Shortland Islands. According to Commissioner Paul, the Solomon Islands Customs will have 3 checkpoints on their side of the border as well to monitor the citizens.
Similarly, on the Solomon side, we have Kulitana in Shortland Islands, and they are planning to have Ovau and Taro as the receiving points of people who are coming in from Solomon into PNG. So you have to check out on those points from Solomon coming in here. So we intend to get this running by 1 December. We'll be doing more awareness on this.
The decision to enforce tighter border controls come at a time when the number of traditional border crossers are increasing, with most people from the Solomon's Shortland Islands crossing into Buin and Kiata to trade at the markets. For Commissioner Paul, this is an issue that will need to be addressed with relevant government departments. However, the message is that from December the 1st, every border crosser should have a passport.
I would like to say that anybody that is of my color scheme could be eligible for that. But we are going through the process of identifying that group. We're allowing Provincial Affairs to do that, but it would be an interesting one, because everyone will have relationship on either side to say that I'm from here, I'm from there. So for now, to make things easy, we want everybody to come via passports. So the important thing is get NID done, get your passport, and you're free to cross. And so that will come into effect by December 1. So thank you.
Properties belonging to 3 families were destroyed by police on Saturday, leaving the families homeless. This follows previous failed attempts at forcefully evicting these families. According to homeowner Dixon Theophilus, they were caught by surprise as they were not served with eviction notices prior to the actions by police.
The 3 families were surprised when the police went in with a bulldozer on Saturday, forcing them to leave their homes. In all, 3 houses, trade stores and market stalls were destroyed, leaving the families homeless. No reasons were given to the families as to why they were being evicted. Victim Dixon Theophilus, who is also a local community leader, says the affected families have been living there for many years. They are demanding an explanation from the authorities as to why they were treated in such manner.
No leaders come here to address these issues. These people are now homeless. They have nowhere to go. And we call our leaders can come and help these people. Why they did this? Why NCDC, police, enforcement unit came with force and evict these people and make these people homeless. We call and we ask, we want the leaders, respective leaders to come here and address, because right now, as we are talking, these people have no home. They have no place to go.
According to the NCDC, people living 10 meters from the new road's construction site were to be evicted to make way for the construction. However, Mr. Theophilus says police went beyond the 10 meters to destroy these houses, which he claims is a breach of human rights. He is therefore appealing to authorities to now help the affected families.
We don't migrate from any place. We are Papua New Guinean people, and this is our right to live in our country. But our rights are suppressed, our rights are deprived. So we have no oath. Our only oath is to go to the courts, but then we have no money. We need people, we need leaders to come and help us so that every individual, every Papua New Guinean has the right to enjoy and live in this country and live happily.
The affected families have vowed to take this matter to court to seek compensation for what has been lost during this forced eviction, and are appealing to their local member as well as the general public to support them to fight this battle. Rayon Lakingu, National EMTV News.
The Australia Pacific Training Coalition has been awarded the prestigious World Federation of Colleges and Polytechnics Awards of Excellence. The Awards of Excellence recognizes outstanding contributions made by member institutions to achieving its vision and celebrating accomplishments in the global colleges and polytechnic sector. The award was presented to APTC in Melbourne on the 9th of this month. Since it began in 2007, APTC has been providing quality training to develop skills for Pacific Islanders, including PNG, to access improved employment and livelihoods. To date, it has trained over 13,000 Pacific graduates, of which 41% are females. TAFE Queensland had endorsed APTC's nomination for the World Federation College and Polytechnics Awards of Excellence. A Warden Program was recently launched in Port Moresby, facilitated by the informal youth sector through a partnership with NCD and corporate entities. It is aimed at helping unemployed youth to contribute positively by becoming wardens of public bus stops and allow for smooth operation of public transport in the city. 200 youth will roll out the project in NCD.
Following intense training, 200 youth in Port Moresby will become trained wardens. The training is organized by President Anthony Wagambi and has support from various corporate houses.
The numbers are increasing. We would like all we want is we'd like to volunteer our time and our energy to stand behind the commission in the concept of making NCD a better place. You may look out in Moresby.
Once trained, the wardens will monitor public bus stops and taxi bays. They will also have to control public nuisance to ensure the safety of passengers and the public bus operators are guaranteed. This new program is expected to help in significantly reducing instances of violence, sexual assault, drink driving and other illegal activities that many passengers are exposed to.
We employ almost 3,000 people right across the nation, and more than half are in Port Moresby. So it's not only about keeping our businesses safe, but a lot of our people are girls and women. We need to make sure our girls, our women, when they finish, when they work late, they're able to go to home safely.
We've got to do exactly what we're doing now. We've got to engage the unemployed. We've got to find out what turns them on, what makes them want to come to work, what makes them want to change what they're doing now.
You know, companies like BSP put their hands up and said we can give a property for a safe house. Oil Search came on board and said we have, resources as well and connections we can try and get support through.
If this project is successful in its initial stages, the number of youth is expected to increase significantly.
I am willing to work with you. It is your commitment that I would ask for us to work together for the good of the residents in this city. And Moresby City is our capital city.
NCD Governor Poes Pakop challenged the youth to be good and sensible citizens in helping to look after Port Moresby.
Failures and mistakes are part of life. Without failure, you cannot succeed. So let's see those 20 years as part of life, part of learning. But we can't afford to continue to fail.
Godwin Eki, National EMTV News.
The CRC MP Dr. Kobe Bomareo has extended an invitation to the board and management of CRC High School to discuss the state of the dormitories in the school. Dr. Bomareo said the mission school is not directly administered by the government, but he is willing to assist in resolving the problem. Last month, we ran a story on the poor state of dormitories at CRC High School. The buildings constructed in the 1970s have not been fixed. Up to 100 students live in each of the 2 dormitories. The school's ability to purchase new building materials has been hampered by high freight costs. You're watching National EMTV News. We go for our first break now, but stay tuned for more of the day's stories when we come back. Welcome back to the news. The Papua New Guinea Tourism Promotion Authority has signed a MOU with a landowner company to develop ecotourism, a first of its kind partnership for TPA. The agreement was signed with the Oktedi Landowners Royalty Investment Trust to develop ecotourism products in Tabubil and the Star Mountains. The Royalty Trust CEO, Aubrey De Souza, said this was the first time for the trust to venture into tourism. It is mainly focused on real estate and share acquisitions to generate income for the landowner companies.
The MOU was signed this week between the Papua New Guinea Tourism Promotion Authority and Oktedi Landowner Royalty Investment Trust. Through the MOU, PNG TPA will provide technical and other support to the landowner communities to develop and market tourism products. CEO Jerry Angus said this was a special occasion because most MOUs entered by TPA were on a government-to-government level, including with provincial governments. Royalty Trust CEO Aubrey De Souza said the Royalty Trust Board was excited about endorsing the project because for the first time the 9 land-owning communities will be able to manage tourism businesses on their own at the community level.
Now this project is mainly exciting because it is something close to them, and we expect the project to grow and give them sustainable employment and other opportunities. So we could not do this ourselves, and it's only with the technical expertise of TPA.
Mr. De Souza said there were many interesting tourism products in the area, including bird watching and nature tours, which they would like to fully develop with the assistance of TPA. Established in 2004, the Oktedi Landowners Royalty Investment Trust for the Star Mountains people of Western Province is the leading landowner trust in the country. It manages the royalties of 10 mine villages. TPA CEO Mr. Angus commended the Oktedi landowners for their wisdom in investing in tourism.
We must develop buffer industries that our people and our community must fall back on. And I think the decision that was made by Oktedi mining landowners through their company, Star Mountain Group of companies, it's a positive step forward where they are now trying to venture into tourism. Tourism is a sector that does not need highly skilled people to venture into. You don't need a university degree to venture into tourism. You don't need to have huge capital investment to go into tourism.
The Oktedi Landowners Royalty Trust also runs shares in hotels in Brisbane and Sydney, which they will utilize to market their tourism products once fully developed by TPA. Charlene Airy, National EMTV News.
The Third Vision City Trade Expo continued today. Among exhibitors was Post Korea, whose stall attracted a good number of customers of all ages with its brightly purple-colored merchandise. Miss Post Korea, Nashla Teke, was also present to help promote the media house.
On a busy Sunday morning, the bright purple of Post Korea attracted visitors to the stall to see the display of mugs, caps, t-shirts, umbrellas, key tags, bags and many more. Post Korea is exhibiting at the 2018 Vision City Expo.
This is the third trade expo hosted by Vision City. So we've been a part of this expo since the beginning in 2016. Yeah, so we're grateful to be here and market our brand, Post Korea. And so we've got merchandises.
Among the most popular items, caps and umbrellas, perfect for the hot, sweltering weather of Port Moresby.
And some of the questions that the people are asking us is, you know, they love the purple color because it's outstanding. And most of the items, especially the expatriates, they're saying it's good because they are taking something from here that's PNG back home, where it's also a nice color and outstanding purple, but it's also representing like PNG because, as we all know, Post Korea has been here for quite some time. So yeah, it represents PNG.
Also present to promote Post Korea was the company's very own Miss Post Korea Nashla Leke, who participated in this year's Hiri Haninamo Festival.
So coming here, doing the marketing and representing the company, it's more fun and it's really nice because you get to know the clients and you get to know everyone here. You talk to them, be friendly and be kind.
Godwin Eki, National MTV News.
Miss Post Korea Nashla Leke took part in this year's Hiri Haninamo Festival, where she was crowned Miss Hetura. Speaking to MTV News today, she said she was excited at promoting her culture and heritage. Nashla is hoping Post Korea will extend their funding into supporting her to take part in the Miss PNG Pacific Island pageant.
We've got our very own Miss Post Korea, so she's been a part of the 2018 the Hiri Haninamo Festival that was held in September. So our very own staff from our company, so the company sponsored her to take part in the Hiri Haninamo Festival, and she got the Miss Conjugality, which is Miss Friendship. They call it, I think, Hetura in Motu. So yeah, she's got that title and that crown. So she's here with us to, you know, help us and most especially interact with the public, our readers, our advertisers, and our customers. Yeah.
Joining the festival is more like a tradition thing, and representing my culture and my family and the company as well. And to Miss Post Korea, I want to promote the company because I'm proud, and I'll say that I'm looking forward, and I hope that company will promote me as a Miss Post Korea, and I can also stand for Miss PNG as well.
Here with National MTV News this Sunday. We go for a break now. When we come back, we take a look at stories making headlines overseas. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas now, Germany's state of Bavaria is set to kick off regional voting in the coming hours. This could be a major test for Angela Merkel. Her ally there, the Christian Social Union, has dominated state politics for decades, but is facing a challenge from the far-right Alternative for Germany party.
Beers and bratwurst, lederhosen and dirndl's Oktoberfest is a hyperbolic wonderland of all things stereotypically Bavarian. This is where Germany's conservative CSU, Christian Socialist Union, has ruled since 1949, seeing itself as the steward of Heimat, a German word for home, but also nostalgia for tradition.
Heimat is Bavaria.
But this was also Bavaria. In 2015, when more than 1 million asylum seekers came to Germany, many by crossing Bavarian borders. That event changed the political landscape, and this week's regional elections could shake the CSU's once unbreakable grip on power. And with it, the fragile coalition government of Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel. CSU lawmaker Robert Brenneckhempf is confident his party will retain the lead, even if it loses some voters to what he describes as the counter-trend of populism. Bavaria is a safe and rich state with the lowest unemployment in the country. We ought to get 60%, he says. But there is a counter-trend in Europe, Italy, France, Holland, and considering this, we hope to get 40%. So where are the votes going? Well, you can find the answer in the Bavarian town of Deggendorf, where Katrin Ebner-Steiner is campaigning for the anti-immigration party AfD, or Alternative for Germany. I came from a CSU family. My father was a CSU member. So was my husband for 30 years, she tells us. The CSU has moved with Merkel to the left here in Bavaria. She has simply lost touch with the Bavarian citizens who are very conservative at heart. Deggendorf was on the front lines of the refugee crisis, at one point housing thousands of asylum seekers. Today, the tents are gone, but there are still about 600 housed here, says the Federal Office of Migration, in what has become a transitory anchor center to quickly process asylum seekers who cross the border with relocation or deportation. It's one of the CSU promises to bring immigration under control. But Ebner Steiner has successfully campaigned off the fear of out-of-control migration. In the national election last year, the AfD won 19% of the vote in Deggendorf, one of the highest results in the country. People still have these images in mind, she tells us. It's the loss of security. That's what people feel. That's why they want an alternative, a policy that opposes unbridled mass immigration, and that's why they choose the AfD. The AfD doesn't just want a stop to all migration, it also wants to ban Islam in Germany, and its leaders have been criticized for supporting right-wing nationalist extremists. That seems to worry voters just as much as their concerns about immigration.
I'm trying to understand their view of point or their argumentation. I would definitely not vote for them.
The AfD could do well this time. I'm not 100% for them, but I have no other choice, this woman told us. If there was any other party, I would not vote for them, but there is none. But this pensioner was adamant that AfD was not the answer. He told us, we already had one Hitler. We do not want this a second time. Not just the postcard image of Heimat tradition, Bavaria is the heartland of Germany's conservative movement. Without its support, Chancellor Angela Merkel leads the country on borrowed time.
The U.S. government has vowed to severely punish Saudi Arabia if it's found responsible for the murder of Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi. He disappeared 11 days ago after entering the Saudi consulate in Istanbul.
A consulate is supposed to be a place of diplomatic protection. But the Turkish authorities believe that behind these walls, Jamal Khashoggi was lured to his death. And they're said to have recordings of the Washington Post journalist being murdered by a Saudi hit squad. There is pressure on Donald Trump to take action.
Lord God, I ask that you pour out your Holy Spirit on President Trump.
But the questions were about what action he would take against the Saudi government if they were involved in Mr. Khashoggi's death. He said there would be severe punishment, but ruled out sanctions that could prevent tens of billions of dollars of arms sales.
I actually think we'd be punishing ourselves if we did that. There are other things we can do that are very, very powerful, very strong, and we'll do that. Now, as of this moment, nobody knows what happened. As of this moment, we're looking into it very seriously. Turkey is looking into it at a very high level, at the highest level, and so is Saudi Arabia.
Jamal Khashoggi went to the consulate to get papers for his wedding. His fiancée was waiting outside, but she never saw him leave the building. The Saudi Interior Minister insists claims that his body was dismembered are baseless allegations and lies. Speaking to his supporters, Turkey's President Erdogan was careful with his words. But while he hasn't accused Riyadh of murder, authorities here have been leaking potentially incriminating information, and there may be more to come. The Turkish police have not been allowed to search the Saudi consulate. But it's not just the authorities in Istanbul now investigating. This is an international incident, and potentially a crime with global consequences.
Mental health is a major issue in New Zealand, and for many, the government has a lot of work to do, especially those on the front line of the mental health crisis. The issue took center stage during last year's election, and as Mental Health Week comes to an end, pressure is on Jacinda Ardern's government to measure up.
Mental health was a major drawcard for Labour on the election campaign.
If you're going to talk about hope, then my view is we need to do something about mental health in this country.
Described as a nationwide epidemic, these shoes representing those who'd taken their own lives.
Those shoes are quite moving to see.
So a year on, and is the government living up to its campaign promises?
We've moved as quickly as we can.
And here's what they've done so far. Primary and intermediate schools in Kaikoura and Canterbury received dedicated mental health support. There's $10 million to pilot free counselling for under 25s, and the government also extending school-based health services to decile 4 schools.
I think this government deserves more praise than we are giving them.
But some say there is still room for improvement, including suicide prevention.
That's definitely been kicked for touch until the inquiry comes back. It does make sense in some respects, but there are probably some things that they could have done.
An overstretched workforce is also proving problematic.
It's all very well to say we want services or we want to put mental health workers into schools, but are those workers there?
We do have a workforce issue, but we've tried to scale it up as quickly as we could.
Green MP Chloe Swarbrick has spent the past week talking to university students, where education was also a reoccurring concern.
When somebody falls over and breaks their leg, you know that you call an ambulance. But when somebody's having a mental health breakdown, we currently don't have a go-to resource.
The independent inquiry into mental health and addiction, which is due to report back at the end of next month, will form the backbone of the government's response to the issue. It's got everything riding on it, and those on the front line are keen to see what's implemented and how quickly.
This is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to build a new ship. What I fear is going to happen is we're going to continue to throw patches on the old boat.
The government promising a new approach to a long-running crisis.
You're with National EMTV News this Sunday. We go for a break now. When we come back, some sporting updates in Trukai Sports. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. We begin with football in Madang, and the Tusbab Kumuls proved too strong over rivals Wugsford, defeating them 1-0 to win the 2018 Grand Final in the MSA. The two teams were tied all at the 90-minute mark, with the match going into extra time. But Tusbab's Kumuls captain Nigel Malagian sealed his team's victory, slotting a goal in the last remaining 30 seconds of extra time to take home the trophy. Meanwhile, in other Grand Final matches in the other divisions, Dabasa defeated Centres 2-1. Logo proved too strong for Uhid, defeating them 2-1 as well. More than 13,000 kina worth of prize money was given out to the individual performances today. To Rugby League, and the PNG Under-23 resident side took out victory in the meet with the New South Wales Under-23 at the Oil Search National Football Stadium this afternoon. Assistant coach Glenn Nami said it was a good experience and even better to come out winners in the inaugural meet.
Second half, when we came out to break, the coach and staff, Coach Stanley, the message he gave was to complete the sets and keep the game in their territory. And I think keeping the game in their territory, that's what worked for us. So that's where we got that. I'm sure there's been talks for future games for our resident side, and I'm hoping we could have a few more rep games in the future, and to in a way help our resident boys, and especially rewarding them in the back end of the season. So I hope we have a couple of games like this in the future.
To the Youth Olympics, and PNG swimmer Leonard Kalate completed his 50-meter swim event in a time of 31.45 seconds. Kalate, who arrived back in the country recently, says he learnt a lot from the Youth Olympics, with his focus now on training harder to perform better. PNG Olympic Committee Avita Rapila and Team PNG General Manager Lua Rikis were present to witness Kalate's final event. According to Chief Shemishan Karolelai, these international events are a wonderful opportunity for young athletes to develop and constantly improve. Kalate and coach Ashley Sito returned home this week to make it in time for Leonard's exams at the University of Technology. To Rugby League abroad, and the Kiwis' thrilling win over the Kangaroos in Auckland last night is being heralded as the dawn of a new era. Written off before the game, the Kiwis were powered by rookies Brandon Smith and Joseph Mano.
night to remember for Joseph Manu and all of Tokoroa. For Dylan Waitene-Zelezniak, it was about honouring the great-grandfather who captained the Kiwis before him. A day after their stunning win, it's been revealed the Kiwis are thriving on a new culture centred on including family.
Got in a circle and, Madge asked us, why do you want to play for the Kiwis? And, everyone said, because I want to represent my family, and I'm very happy that we have, Madge as a coach, because this theme is it's going to bring the Kiwis a long way.
Based on the evidence, you'd have to agree.
Smith goes from dummy half. He believes he got there.
Sure did, moments after Manu crossed the chalk.
Good, Ben.
Then capped off a stellar night for the rookies.
Manu! It's Rapana! What about this kid from Tokoroa? Joseph Manu, what can't you do?
Yes, the Kangaroos let opportunities slip.
I think they're up to 10 errors at the moment.
But it was clear this Kiwis team had turned a corner.
No, I think it's always about family. I think you've got to remember where you came from. Think about all the happy faces that go home tonight for those moments or those experiences.
That's what made me cry. In the anthem there, I just thought about everything that Mum and Dad done for me.
Then more tears during this haka. A thank you from Smith's autistic cousin for everything he's done for him.
Don't go anywhere, we'll have more of Trukai Sports after these messages.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To netball now, the Silver Ferns have snapped their 9-match losing streak against Australia to keep the Constellation Cup series. It was a one-sided match in Hamilton.
This is a far better start than
Australia rested regular starters today, but still came out with purpose, storming ahead by 5 points. By the end of the first quarter, they were 1 point down.
For the first time, it's New Zealand that win the first quarter.
Finally, it looked that the old Trans-Tasman rivalry was alive and well.
Oh, clever little bounce out the back.
The Ferns piling on the points and the pressure.
Third intercept. Oh, unlucky.
And there was no shortage of drama.
That came. Oh, gosh, it's all happening.
Suddenly, everything going right for the Ferns, piling on the goals, and Maria Folau was making no mistake.
She's certainly having her strongest performance of the series.
For the final half, Australia obviously feeling threatened, going back to their number one lineup. But it was no issue for the Ferns. But there were no last fighting words, the Ferns putting an end to the Diamonds' 9-game victory run.
The drought is broken. New Zealand have beaten Australia.
It's really great to get the W. I think I was really proud of our processes out there, and we just stuck to it and we kept chipping away. And we had some pretty pure conversations out there as well.
The Ferns' first win in a very long time, and an important one, giving them the confidence they need to keep the series alive.
New Zealand's double Olympic gold athlete Dame Valerie Adams is 13 weeks pregnant with her second child, but plans to be at the next Olympics in Tokyo in 15 months' time. She also had a child prior to the Commonwealth Games and says this time she knows what to expect.
Dame Valerie Adams' 6-month-old daughter Kim Wana was in the stands when she won Commonwealth Games silver earlier this year.
Isn't she gorgeous?
As if one comeback in an Olympic cycle wasn't impressive enough, Adams is set to do it again before Tokyo.
It makes me nervous, but I think I know what the challenges will be and I know what to expect this time round as far as things like breastfeeding, how it's going to affect my body, my diet, what it's going to do to me physically and emotionally, because it is a roller coaster ride.
The 34-year-old is pregnant with baby number 2, due in April next year. 15 months later, she plans to go to the 2020 Olympics. You obviously don't think it's impossible?
No, it's not. But I just hope that this, can inspire other, female athletes out there to, if they don't have time and they need to stop and have a child, do it.
For Adams, fertility problems meant time was running out for her and husband Gabriel Price to give daughter Kimoana a sibling. But after making her last comeback just months after giving birth, this time it won't be so rushed.
To be honest, the only people that question what I do and, I guess question the fact that, whether I can come back, and this was the Commonwealth Games as well, it's actually males, but that's because they have no idea.
Adams trained throughout her first pregnancy and plans to do the same with number 2, but she admits if she's not ready for Tokyo, she won't go.
I know myself and I know that I will make that choice. If I'm not ready for it, I will pull the pin myself.
If you get to Tokyo and you go and you don't get a medal, will it all have been worth it?
Totally. 100%.
That's because her family will be around long after any medals have lost their sheen.
And to wrap up Trukai Sports, here's this week's sporting moments overseas, starting with New Zealand rugby.
Just when Waikato were prepping the Ranfurly Shield Summer Tour, Otago snapped it off them. Victory all the more sweeter for Otago's Jonah Nareki, although sore after he busted his testicle. Move over Buck Shelford. The prizes were also being dished out in New Plymouth.
Everyone's getting a loaf of bread. You get bread, you get bread, everybody gets a loaf of bread.
But there were plenty of reasons not to celebrate. After missing a kick to win the game, Freddie Burns looked to have redeemed himself until...
Yes, and the score! Oh, he's dropped it! Oh no, he's missed the kick and he's missed the try, has he?
Leinster flanker Rhys Ruddock didn't miss referee Romain Poit.
That is mightily painful. It's a no-arm tackle as well.
And there were plenty of tumbles at the Tamworth Sevens and Aussie as well. Don't rush to help, lads. At least this kid knew what was coming at the Shanghai Masters. And Steph Curry was shocking people on court for different reasons. Formula One driver Daniel Ricciardo was hot from halfway too. But it was the young guns who were showing off in the Mount Smart triple header.
Oh, get out! Get out of here! I'm hearing you. You don't even get that right at training.
Their seniors the happiest of all this week though. The key is in the we.
And that ends Trukai Sports. We go for a break. When we come back, the weather details for the next 24 hours.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
I'll look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. In the southern region, cloudy with some showers expected in Port Moresby with a top temperature of 30 degrees. Fine weather expected in Daru, Kerama, Alotau and Popondetta. To the Momase region, some showers expected in Lae with a top of 31, 27 degrees and a few showers expected in Wau. Fine weather and 31 degrees for the next 24 hours for Madang, Wewak and Vanimo. To the New Guinea Islands region, thundery storms expected in Buka with a top of 31 degrees as well and a few showers expected in Lorengau, Kavieng, Kokopo, Rabaul and Kimbe. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, all the major centres can expect some showers over the next 24 hours with early morning fog developing.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And that's the way it is today, Sunday the 14th of October 2018. On behalf of the EMTV News team right around the country, have a pleasant working week. Good night.